We live in a world that is just constantly shouting for our attention, right? So, what does it even mean to really listen anymore? Well, that's what we're going to dive into today. We're going to look at this challenge, how hard it is to find any real silence. And we're going to do it by looking at this really powerful ancient story. So, centuries ago, the philosopher Blaise Pascal said this, and you got to admit, it hits even harder today, doesn't it? I mean, wow, that quote just cuts right to the heart of it all. Our total discomfort with silence, with just being. And that's really the core problem we're going to unpack together. So let me ask you this, just for a second. Think about your day. I mean, really think about it. Whose voice is taking up the most real estate in your head? Is it the news? Some influencer on social media? Your boss? Or maybe, and this is a big one, is it just your own anxieties on a loop? It's a huge question because what we let in, what we listen to, that's what ends up shaping who we are. And that brings us right to our first big hurdle, the problem of noise. It's just overwhelming, right? It feels like this constant battle that we're all fighting against a nonstop stream of distractions. And what's so wild is just how familiar this list is. I mean, we all know these things. It's not just the stuff on the outside, the 24-hour news, the endless social media scroll, the podcasts always playing in our ears. It's also the noise inside, those anxieties, those worries just bouncing around in our heads. It all makes true, deep silence feel, well, almost impossible to find. Okay, so to get a little perspective on our very modern problem, we're actually going to go back in time, way back. Let's turn to this ancient story. We're going to take a trip up a mountain to witness a pretty crucial moment from the Gospel of Matthew, where a command is given from, well, a very unexpected place. All right, so the scene opens with Jesus taking his inner circle, Peter, James, and John, and leading them away from all the crowds. He takes them up a high mountain, just by themselves, and the setting here is so important. In the Bible, mountains are almost always these special places for divine encounters, for revelation, basically for getting away from the noise of everyday life. And then, boom, something absolutely extraordinary happens. The text says Jesus is transfigured. It's a fancy word, but it just means he was completely changed, right there in front of them. His face started shining like the sun. His clothes became this brilliant, dazzling white. I mean, you have to imagine what they were seeing. It was a real, tangible glimpse of divine glory. And just when you think it can't get any more intense, it does. Two massive figures from their history just appear out of nowhere and start talking with Jesus. We're talking Moses and Elijah. For Peter, James, and John, this had to be absolutely mind-blowing. Can you even imagine? But it raises a huge question. Why them? Why these two guys specifically? So while Peter is still trying to process all this, a bright cloud descends and covers them. And that's a classic sign of God's presence in the Old Testament. And then out of that cloud, a voice speaks, and it delivers the single most important message of this whole experience. It's a direct, crystal clear command. Listen to him. Okay, so listen to him. But what does all of this mean? What was the deeper point of what the disciples just witnessed? To get it, we really have to unpack the incredible symbolism of seeing Moses and Elijah standing there. The importance of these two guys, it's just huge. Think of it like this. Moses basically represents the law, the Torah, the foundation of their entire relationship with God. And Elijah, he's like the ultimate representative of the prophets. So when you put them together, they symbolize the entirety of the Hebrew scriptures, the whole Old Testament. Okay, so here's the big takeaway. Having them both there, talking with Jesus, sends a powerful message. Jesus is the fulfillment of everything the law and the prophets were pointing to all along. He's not getting rid of them, he's completing them. He's the grand finale. And that's why the voice from the cloud says, essentially, stop looking back at the symbols and listen to him. He's the one you've been waiting for. So that's a really powerful command, right? But let's be real. It is not easy to do. And this brings us right back to where we started, back to our own struggles. Because there are some very, very real reasons why this kind of listening is just so hard for us. We already talked about all the noise on the outside, but the roadblocks inside our own heads can be even bigger. I mean, there's a real fear of what we might find if we actually get quiet, right? And a lot of times that's connected to this deeper fear of losing control, of giving up the driver's seat in our own lives. And then there's that super frustrating feeling, when you are trying to listen, but it just feels like radio silence. Or you have the opposite problem, where you want God to be like a helicopter parent,
giving you a divine answer for every little thing? And this is a question so many of us have asked at some point. It's like you're trying to tune into a station, but all you get is static. You show up, you try to be quiet, and the only thing you hear is your to-do list or that stupid thing you said yesterday. It's so easy to walk away thinking, what's wrong with me? I must be failing at this. But what if we looked at it a different way? I love this analogy. Think about winter. Just because the ground is covered in snow and looks dead doesn't mean nothing's happening. Underneath, there's life teeming, getting ready for spring. Maybe sometimes silence is like that. It's a time of formation where important work is happening just under the surface, even when we can't see or feel it.
Okay, so if we can kind of push past that frustration, if we can trust that something might be happening in the quiet, how do we actually do it? How do we practically create the space to listen? Let's shift gears from the why it's hard to the how to get started. So here are 5 really concrete things you can try. And the keyword here is intentional. It means actually doing it. Things like reading scripture daily, carving out some actual phone-off silence, engaging with the sacraments at church, journaling your thoughts so you can see patterns over time, and talking with and listening to people in your community. See, it's not about finding some secret mystical trick. It's really just about the simple, everyday work of building a relationship.
All right, but this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Let's say you're doing all this stuff. How in the world do you know if that nudge you're feeling or that idea that pops into your head is actually from God? How do you know it isn't just you or indigestion or, as one of the sources says, the other forces at work in our lives?
Well, the good news is there's a process for this called discernment, and it gives us a few really helpful guardrails. For starters, a genuine message from God is never going to contradict Scripture. That's a big one. It also usually brings a sense of peace and clarity, not more confusion or anxiety. It's always going to be consistent with God's character of love. And here's an interesting one. It'll often challenge you, but in a way that helps you grow and become a better version of yourself. And all of this really points to the ultimate goal. See, this whole listening thing isn't about getting a set of divine instructions for your life or hearing cosmic secrets. The real point is transformation. It's about being in a relationship that actually changes you from the inside out, just like those disciples were forever changed by what they experienced on that mountain. So we're kind of ending right back where we started, but now with a very personal challenge. We heard that command from the cloud loud and clear. Listen to him. And to truly do that, we have to make a choice. So this is the question I want to leave you with. To intentionally listen to that one voice, what other noise are you willing to turn down?